What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another entertainment video, y'all. Thanks for coming through. Today is Tuesday, January 21st, y'all. A great day in Chicago sports, Bears history, hopefully. But we're going to be talking Chicago Bears today. New hire at head coach position. We're talking about the NFC division round matchups, what went down last weekend. Unfortunately, I was only 1-3 in my picks last week, but the games were great. I can't even complain on that front. But without further ado, y'all, we got to start off with this great news coming out of Chicago, guys. It's official. I'm sure if you're a Bears fan, you already heard hours ago, but Ben Johnson is officially the next head coach of your Chicago Bears, y'all. And we gotta pump it up. You got to get some love out here. There's not that much good news coming out of Chicago, but today is a great day, y'all. I think it's official. We're the back-to-back off-season champions. Last year, we got Caleb Williams at the #1 pick. This year, we got the #1 head coach option, and that's Ben Johnson, y'all. So get your Cubans out. Do what you got to do. Get the streamers, because today, guys, it's a great day to be a Chicago Bears fan, man. I just made a mess with the streamers in here, so it'll be fun to clean that up later, but it's all worth it. And I think it's safe to say it might be a little bit wild. It might be a crazy guarantee, but I'm going to guarantee that Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams are going to bring back the Super Bowl for the first time to Chicago since 1985. So, yep, Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, you will be the next Super Bowl champions for the Chicago Bears. I don't know if it's next year, the year after, but I'm pretty confident to say that this duo, this tandem is going to lead us somewhere great, and I'm psyched, y'all. It's the first time where the Bears have actually got someone that everybody wants. It's like being that kid that probably nobody ever liked you your whole life. You could never get a girlfriend. You never had friends. That's how it feels to be a Bears fan. And today, that really awesome person you always wanted, guy, girl, whatever it is you're going after, they picked you, and that was Ben Johnson. So rumors are going crazy about Ben going to the Raiders, Ben going to the Jaguars, but Schefter, Ian Rappaport, all these great guys that drop news for the NFL, they've been saying, y'all, everybody's talking about these other teams. Don't lose focus, because Ben Johnson's #1 pick was always the Chicago Bears, man. So the good news is, too, obviously, Chicago Bears, we got Ben Johnson, head coach of the organization, first-time head coach. So the good news in addition to that is it's looking like he's trying to bring in Dennis Allen, who was the head coach of the Saints, as a defensive coordinator, and it's pretty crucial when it's a first-time head coach, somebody like Ben Johnson, to bring in somebody else, whether it's a coordinator or assistant head coach that's had previous experience coaching an organization, running an organization, to kind of help them with some of those things that you really don't know about. So you're the head coach of a team. And Ben Johnson, crazy to say, he's only 38 years old, y'all. So this dude isn't even 40. I think the oldest dude on the Bears last year was, who was it? Either Gerald Everett, or was it, what's his name? Why can't I think of his name right now? I can't remember. Oldest player on the Bears. Mercedes Lewis. There you go. So Mercedes Lewis actually older than Ben Johnson. I don't think Mercedes Lewis is going to be back. But let's go into a little bit of background on who exactly is Ben Johnson. So Ben Johnson, he spent 7 seasons with the Miami Dolphins. That's actually how him and Dan Campbell hooked up. Dan Campbell was a coach on the Dolphins. That's when they met. When Dan Campbell got his job in Detroit, he ended up bringing Ben Johnson with him. So he worked as the offensive quality control coach, tight ends coach, passing game coordinator, then moved his way up to the offensive coordinator, where he was the last 3 seasons. So Lions offense, if you don't already know, absolutely stacked these last couple of years. They led the league this year with 33.2 points per game, and they were second in yards with 409.5 yards per game. And last year, it's not like it was an anomaly. So last year, the Lions were 5th in points with 27, 3rd in yards with 394 per game. And even the first year's offensive coordinator in 2022, they averaged 380 yards per game. That was 4th best in the NFL. And that year, they were 5th in points, averaging 26.2 points per game. And these were all offenses led by Ben Johnson. So you could see why there's so much excitement, why there's so many people that were clamoring after him, hoping to get him as their head coach of their franchise. And I think it's safe to say not only me, everybody in Chicago right now is pretty stoked. We're pretty excited to see what the future brings. And jump on X, jump on Twitter, all types of dope videos of Ben Johnson walking into Hallis Hall today, making announcements like, yo, this is where I always wanted to be. And that's what you want to hear, guys. And one thing is, when you start looking at it matchup for matchup on the offensive side, is the Bears, we do have a ton of talent. So you could see if we can just implement even 75% of what the Lions were doing this year or last year, we'll be in a whole nother stratosphere than where we've been offensively as a team. But, you know, you got to ask yourself, like, Is there something to worry about? Which obviously there is. First-time head coach, you never really know what's going to happen. But there's also obviously a lot of great reasons to be optimistic. Johnson's only 38. Caleb's only going into his second year. So potentially you could see these two kind of morphing together, forming that duo for the next 10, 12, 15 years, God willing, if Caleb Williams can play that long and if they actually have success. And it looks like Johnson's doing the right thing, bringing in the right type of coordinator. If he's able to bring in Dennis Allen, we don't know what he's going to do with the rest of the roster. I know they're already talking about, I think, trying to get the offensive line coach over from Detroit. So it's a crazy day, guys. It's a great day to be a Bears fan. I just made a video last week where I'm like, yo, the Bears are going to get Mike McCarthy. And that was just the pessimism being a Bears fan. You're like, yo, we know we should get Ben Johnson. We know Ben Johnson wants to come here, but we've seen this happen before. We're like, well, maybe they're just using the Bears as leverage. You really don't know. And this is the first time, too, where it's come out that the McCaskies were like, yo, we'll spend the bread. We'll do what it takes. They were rumors of them trying to trade for Mike Tomlin. He's third in coach's salary per year. So that kind of sent the message out there to Ben Johnson, like, yo, we're not afraid to spend bread. We're not afraid to give you some money. And that's what happened. Ben Johnson, finally, officially your Chicago Bears head coach. And same thing, while we're acquiring somebody, it's good to see Detroit losing out on someone that's kind of helped them. And as you guys know, Detroit won the NFC North this year. There's also pretty good insight that they're going to be losing defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. Right now, the Jets are trying to work out a deal to make Glenn the head coach of their team. So Detroit, we'll talk about it in a little bit, lost last week. They're already out of the playoffs after a great season. They're about to lose defensive coordinator. They already lost their offensive coordinator. So that's good news for Chicago, man. We pick up Ben Johnson. Detroit loses him. Caleb Williams, second year, pairing up with an offensive masterpiece, offensive mastermind back there. And I'm pumped, y'all. I just looked at the mess I made with all the streamers. Bad idea, but we could clean that up later. But we can't clean up is Ben Johnson to Chicago Bears. So that's all we wanted to see, man. That's all I wanted to see. I wanted to see us make that move. I'm excited, man. I really don't know what else to say. We got Caleb Williams last year. We got Ben Johnson this year. It feels like something might be brewing up down by Soldier Field, down by Lakeshore Drive. The next thing they're talking about is a stadium. So whether that's going to be a new dome downtown or a new dome in Arlington Heights, it looks like the Chicago Bears are in a new era, y'all. We got our quarterback. We got our head coach. It looks like we're going to be getting another stadium. Now we just got to go get some dubs, get some playoff wins, get back to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I just want to see us win. I got to see us get to the playoffs. Let's start there first. Bears to the playoffs next year. Division, wild card, whatever we could take. That's the first step. And that's really all we need. And at this point, really, there's no reason for Caleb Williams. No more excuses for Caleb. Now he's got that offensive coach he's been looking for. You could tell he's been talking about it on different podcasts like the Amon Ross St. Brown podcast. Ironically, just played for Ben Johnson. But Caleb Williams, no more excuses, my guy. You got your head coach. You got the coordinator you're asking for. And at this point, if you can't do it with this guy, then I really don't know what else to say. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Chicago. Thank you. It's a great day. I don't know what I did with the Cuban. We got the Cubans, boy. I'd fire it up, but my wife would be pissed. And these things, we got some lingerers. And it's a real, y'all. This is a real, they're real cool, man. Don't ask, boy. We got the plug. JK. All right, man. So now we got to talk a little bit about these NFL divisional round reactions. If you're on YouTube right now, go check out some of my shorts. Check out some of the videos I made last week. I'm getting cooked right now. I went 1-3. The only matchup I won last week was the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll start off right there, man. So the first divisional round matchup last week, let me see if I can pop this up. First divisional round last week. Oh, what happened there? The Chiefs, they took out the Houston Texans 23-14, man. And crazy stat right here. So the Chiefs won 23-14. And a crazy stat, Patrick Mahomes has never lost in the divisional round. And the Chiefs are now advancing to their 7th straight AFC championship game. And they still have a chance to become the first ever team to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. So history's still out to play. Mahomes going crazy, 16-3 in the playoffs, and he is now the second most winning quarterback in NFL postseason history, tied with Joe Montana. Of course, he's behind the GOAT, Tom Brady. But just all around, man, the Chiefs, I don't know how you could pick against them. So Chiefs, like I said, Pat Mahomes, he's never lost in the divisional round. Chiefs are advancing to their 7th straight AFC championship game. They're trying to become the first team to ever win 3 Super Bowls in a row. And Patrick Mahomes is now 16-3 with the playoffs, and he's tied with Joe Montana for the second most postseason wins by a quarterback, only trailing your boy, Tom Brady. So Chiefs, man, they make it look easy. So it was pretty close, I would say, throughout the game, but they kind of just always, you feel like, the Chiefs are going to win. It's that opposite feeling you get with other teams where you're like, yo, they're probably going to blow this. There's something that's going to happen. The Chiefs do the complete opposite. So they were up 13-12 at halftime. Houston scores again. So then they go, 13-12 at the end of the third. I was like, whoa, my math is off. So Houston was down 13-12 after the third. The Chiefs scored 10. The Texans had a safety in that quarter. So they ended up winning 23-14, or not safety. I think they got a 2-point conversion. ESPN stats, you're tweaking. But Chiefs are only up by 1 into the third quarter. Fourth quarter, they come out, do their thing. They defense once again looking pretty stout. They sacked C.J. Stroud 8 times. So I know the offense gets a lot of love, but Chris Jones, on that side of the ball was just dominating. And the Chiefs, man, they got everything. You talk about Mahomes so much, you talk about Kelsey, but holding the Texans to only 14 points is really kind of what it's all about and what they've been doing all season. Averaging 23, you look at some of these other matchups, they technically would have lost. Washington had 45, Detroit had 31, Philadelphia had 28 against the Rams, Buffalo and Baltimore 27-25 respectfully. So although you're looking at the game like, the Chiefs are kind of barely squeaking by. If you watch the game itself, it feels like they're just always in control. Travis Kelce, just kind of same thing he always does. He's had a pretty slow regular season up to his standards. And of course, this dude comes out with 2 big plays in the postseason. You just wonder, how is Travis Kelce always open? Who's always leaving Travis Kelce wide open? And you see he had 7 receptions, 117 yards, 1 touchdown. And that's pretty wild because you look at it, Mahomes only had 177 yards, so 117 of those went to Kelce, meaning that Mahomes only passed for 60 yards to every other receiver, and that's on 7 receptions. So it's like 7 out of 16 for Mahomes. The other 9 were to other people. So you see that connection kind of lingering that just doesn't go away. Kelce, maybe a little bit slower, maybe a little bit less athletic than he used to be, but the Chiefs just kind of keep marching on. But the real question you got to have when you're watching the Chiefs, and it's something that everybody's talking about during the game, after the game, fans are talking about it, refs are talking about it, players are talking about it. Do the refs favor the Kansas City Chiefs? The 2 biggest plays that stand out to you in that situation got to be, of course, the Will Anderson roughing the passer call on Mahomes where they said he hit him in the face. It looked like Anderson hit him in the chest. Maybe he got him a little bit in the face mask, but I don't think that was enough to call. Then the second one where Mahomes is running, kind of goes for like a late slide. 2 Texans basically run into each other, kind of clip Mahomes. They call that, and that's just blowing up the internet, y'all. It definitely looks like the refs favor the Chiefs. I saw some breakdowns of the stats, kind of showing you why they don't. But I think the refs do favor the Chiefs. I think the refs always favor the best players. Every sport you watch, LeBron, Tom Brady, even Steph Curry, Jordan back in the day, Peyton Manning back in the day, those dudes get the benefit of the doubt. It's a human instinct. Human just kind of nature is those dudes that are the best, you're kind of like, oh, can't do that to him. And the NFL does not want Patrick Mahomes or any of its quarterbacks getting hit and knocked out of the game. So that's one thing that's a little bit dumb about the Texans is that they're like, yo, this is on the refs. We all know what we saw out there. But if you already know that and you're talking about it before the game, you got to be extra careful on those hits. Will Anderson, why are you even running up to him, slapping him like that? Just spear tackle his ass. Do something else besides that. But they're going to be passing on. They're going to the AFC Championship, 7th straight season, where they're going up against the next team that I'm going to talk about. The Buffalo Bills, in an absolute classic, came out and beat the Baltimore Ravens 27-25. And it's finally time to say it, y'all. Josh Allen really is him. He had 16-22 passing with 127 yards. He ran for 2 touchdowns. Both teams ran the ball like crazy. Buffalo had 147 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Baltimore had 176 yards, but only 1 touchdown. And the play everybody's talking about, Baltimore down by 2, pretty much trying to make this play to go for the 2-point conversion and get into overtime. Mark Andrews wide open, kind of stumbling back, hits the ball. He drops it. Game over. So it's just the only thing going on, only thing talking about. Lamar, he was 18 to 25, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he had an interception and he had a key fumble loss as well. Mark Andrews too. So Mark Andrews, not only did he drop the 2-point conversion, he had another drop fumble. Lamar Jackson had another drop fumble. And it seems like the same thing kind of happening with the Baltimore Ravens. They dominate all regular season. They get to this big game in the playoffs, and they, for some reason, just cannot seem to finish it out. And it's kind of simple stuff, too. Lamar just kind of running, boom, ball gets knocked out. Same thing for Mark Andrews. It's like these little things that you just can't do, and I get it. You want to fight for every yard, do everything, but sometimes you got to do what Kelsey does. You got to do what Mahomes does. These dudes just get down. Like, yo, what's 2 more yards going to be if I can just get it back on the next play? And it seems like that's just the one little thing kind of missing from the Ravens are just those little plays. You know, people say the refs favor the Chiefs. I think it's just the Chiefs make all these little decisions throughout the game that add up, and the Ravens do the opposite. They kind of make those little decisions that don't add up to winning that really kind of start to hold them back. They brought Derrick Henry in. That still wasn't enough. I mean, I know that Zay Flowers was out. Rashad Bateman had a pretty good game. Andrews, before the fumbles, had a pretty good game. And it's really coming down to that point of, what can the Baltimore Ravens do at this point to get to a Super Bowl, to get to another AFC championship? It seems like they have everything, but there's just not enough spots, man. You think about Josh Allen, you think about Patrick Mahomes, you think about players like Joe Burrow that's not even in the playoffs right now. CJ Stroud's still out there. The AFC is just absolutely loaded with quarterbacks. So at some point, you would think the Ravens could win, but we've thought that about a lot of different NFL teams, about a lot of different NFL quarterbacks throughout the year. And I don't know, man. I think one thing you got to ask, though, is like, who's to blame for the loss? Obviously, the easy thing you could go with is Mark Andrews. Dude dropped the 2-point conversion. So in a small context, yes, Mark Andrews cost him the win. You could also go with Lamar. Another game where he has multiple turnovers in a postseason game, interception he had, fumble he had. You can also just kind of look at the defensive side. They're giving up too many points to Josh Allen where you kind of know what they're going to do. They ran the ball down their throat, which is a little bit surprising, even though that's what Buffalo's done all season. But I think who you really got to blame here, it's got to be John Harbaugh, man. People are talking about the 2-point conversion. The reality is, why are you in that position? Because they went for another 2-point conversion. They missed it when they could have gone for the extra point, and that would have put them in position at the end of the game to just hit an extra point and basically go into overtime. But you see this happening a lot more in the NFL. Coaches going for it on 4th, costing them later on in the game. And that's pretty much what I think happened here. So can you blame Mark Andrews for the Ravens' loss? Yes, you definitely can. In a small glimpse, it's his fault. He dropped the 2-point conversion. But in the grand scheme of things, I think you got to go with John Harbaugh, man. It's him that wanted to go for 2 points earlier in the game where they missed it, so they had to go for 2 at the end of the game. And it's also him that's called this same 2-point conversion for Mark Andrews 2-3 different times. Look it up on Twitter, and dude drops it every time. So I get it. He's a vet on their team. They want to give him a chance. They want him to have that play at the end of the game. And it was a perfect call, but you've seen him drop it before, y'all. So sorry, Mark Andrews, man. You're the easy guy to blame on this one, but we probably got to look at John Harbaugh for the real person to blame for this loss. So let's shift over now. So, AFC, you got the Chiefs and you got the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be an epic matchup. We'll talk about some of that later on this week. I'll do another video on some of the predictions for those games, but let's shift over now to the NFC. Just as exciting, just as many good games in the NFC. So the first one we're going to talk about, it's going to got to be Philadelphia Eagles. They beat the LA Rams 28-22. Saquon once again just ran all over the Rams. He had 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had iconic breakaway runs. You got to remember the last one that pretty much sealed the game for Philly. He's slapping his head on the way down. Oh, still some streamers coming down. Even peep. They even peep these everywhere. Still celebrating the Bears. Let's go, Ben Johnson. But Saquon with 2 iconic runs, y'all. It was kind of legendary. You see that stuff, and in the snow, Saquon going crazy. Jalen Carter, absolute masterclass for Philadelphia, too. He had 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, had a big hit at the end of the game to pretty much seal it for the defense when LA had one more chance to march down the field. And Matthew Stafford, man, he played his ass off for the Rams. He had 324 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, but really just did not have enough help from the offensive line. He didn't get enough protection throughout the game, towards the end of the game. Surprising. I mean, I picked the Rams to win, so I wasn't surprised how close it was, but it was just a great game all the time. I mean, the Rams were down about 13 in the fourth quarter. They managed to get it to 6. They did have the ball at the end, but in that snow and that weather, it's hard to ask your team to march down twice in the fourth quarter and score both times. And it was a classic, man. I mean, Eagles, Rams, that could have damn near been the NFC Championship because the other side jagged the Lions. But Eagles and Rams, man, not too great of a performance from Jalen Hurts. Saquon kind of put the team on his back, but you got to give Jalen Hurts credit, man. It's like, what, second or third time going to the NFC Championship. He has his second chance to go to another Super Bowl. So as much as people want to hate on him, maybe he's not a big arm, maybe he can't do everything that Mahomes can do, everything that Lamar could do. I mean, he's in the NFC, and Buddy just wins, does what he has to do. And he talked about it a little before the game, like, yo, I know everybody wants to see a certain brand, but I'm going to do what it takes to win. So one week we got to run it. That's cool. The next week, maybe we got to throw it. I could do that same thing. But Saquon, definitely the pickup of the offseason, the most impactful pickup free agent in the NFC East, arguably that's left right now in the playoffs. And you look at all these teams and who they picked up, who's making a difference. And it's really going to be interesting to see. You got two division matchups, or a division matchup that's coming up in the NFC Championship. Eagles are going to be hosting the Washington Commanders. So there's a chance that there could be more snow. Who knows? So that's one thing that we were talking about. Me and my friends, different group chats I'm in, is, some of the snow games, it looks dope. It's exciting to see on TV, but it kind of takes away from the game sometimes. Obviously, this one, it was still 28-22, but it is kind of crazy that Philadelphia team that plays outside gets to play outside in the snow against the LA Rams team that obviously comes from a nicer climate, but they also have a indoor stadium or indoor dome. So I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but I think snow games are overrated, y'all. They're cool for the look. They're cool for the vibe. But if it comes down to the game, the matchup, is the best team going to win? Snow does not equate that. It's kind of giving you an advantage. I get it. They have the home field advantage, so maybe that's kind of the point. But if it comes down to winning, seeing those two teams at their best, I don't want snow. I don't want rain. I want to see them both able to play on the same even playing field where they're both used to it. No team that's from the hot's got to come out cold, vice versa. And they do it in the Super Bowl anyway, so it's kind of stupid. Like, hey, through the playoffs, you got to grind for it, for real, for real. Then in the Super Bowl, though, don't worry, guys, we're all going to play in the nice weather. We're going to play in a stadium. So it's a little bit backwards to me. If you do it for the Super Bowl, why not do it for all the playoffs? Why is the Super Bowl going to be on a neutral field, in a stadium, in a dome, when the postseason, all the other games, you're just playing wherever? And that kind of sometimes obviously leads to a shift like yesterday where a team like Philly that's going to run it has the advantage. And the Rams ran the hell out of the ball too. But sometimes maybe in other games, it's definitely a bigger advantage. But snow games, guys, they're overrated, y'all. It looks cool. It's dope. It's fun to see. But in terms of the actual game, we all know that it's definitely influencing the outcome. And I want to see two teams play on an even playing field in the postseason. No excuses, no nothing. They do it for the Super Bowl. Might as well do it for all the postseason. Play indoors, man. It's kind of silly to me that they're still doing this. But next one, last one, we got to get into it. And we just got the coach, y'all. We got Ben Johnson. So shout out to them. I can't even talk shit. Detroit Lions, they got mollywopped. They lost 45-31 to the Washington Commanders. And rookie Jaden Daniels, once again, going crazy. 22-31 passing for 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, 51 rushing yards. And he just kind of seems to make all the right plays at the right time. Offensively, Lions look good, man. They had over 300 passing yards, over 200 rushing yards. So you kind of think, like, how could they even lose that game? But it's because Jared Goff had 3 interceptions. And even on a trick play, Jamison Williams had an interception. So the offense for the Lions, they did good statistically, 300 yards passing, 200 yards rushing, but 4 interceptions, with 3 of those coming from Jared Goff. So, it's one of those games where if you scored 31 before the game, the Lions are probably like, yo, we're in a good spot. We have over 500 offensive yards. We scored 31 points. We should be able to win this game. But surprisingly, I guess maybe not surprisingly, because they're missing about 18 players, the defense just couldn't hold up its end of the bargain. They gave up 45 points to a rookie. And this is one of those examples where they played indoors. So you kind of got to see both teams have that same type of advantage. Like, yo, we're going to throw this around. We're going to run this around. And it is crazy, though, to think 45 points, giving it up to a rookie. I thought Aaron Glenn, who's been a coveted head coaching prospect this year. I thought he'd have a little bit something more for Jaden Daniels, but Jaden Daniels looks like the real deal out there, y'all. He's just been absolutely stepping it up every chance he get. Every time you think something's going to go wrong, it seems to go right. And it kills me because it feels like ever since the Bears lost to them on that Hail Mary, the Bears season went this way and the Redskins season went that way. So some people, you got to kind of ask yourself too, though, does having Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn interviewing for other coaching positions, does that affect the Lions? Is that a reason that maybe they came out and lost to the Commanders? You might think so, but offensively, at least I'm like, yo, Ben Johnson, 500 yards, 300 passing, 200 rushing. Maybe it affected Aaron Glenn because he did give up 45 points to a rookie, but you also got to remember about 18 players I think were hurt that have or been hurt for the defensive side of the Lions that they didn't have. So I don't want to say that interviewing for these positions didn't have them set up to succeed. Just clearly Daniels is on fire right now, and I don't know what you could do really to stop that 45. And how can you outcoach 3 interceptions from your quarterback and another one from a receiver? And it's just kind of hard to put it that way. And there was a couple moments where you thought the Lions had it, but Jaden Daniels, the Commanders, is kind of boom, boom, stepping it up. And the next question we got to ask, or I got to ask, will Jaden Daniels be the first rookie to lead his team to a Super Bowl? So 4 quarterbacks I got messed up right there. So will Jaden Daniels be the first rookie to lead his team to a Super Bowl? 4 rookie quarterbacks have now reached the conference championship games. Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Flacco, Mark Sanchez, and now Jaden Daniels. And 2 of those guys on the list have Super Bowls, Joe Flacco, Ben Roethlisberger. But the youngest quarterback to play in a Super Bowl was actually Dan Marino at 23 years old, 127 days in Super Bowl 19. And the youngest quarterback to actually start and win a Super Bowl was Ben Roethlisberger at 23 years old, 340 days in Super Bowl 40 against the Seahawks. So Jaden Daniels, he could become the first ever rookie to win a Super Bowl. And first he's got to get through Philly, but he's right on par, man. If it's just an individual matchup, I'd be like, hell yeah, Jaden Daniels probably going to get to the Super Bowl. But they got to go through Philly, and that's a divisional matchup where you know Philly kind of knows what they do. Philly's the veteran side. So at some point, I got to expect Jaden Daniels to flinch. But who knows, man? He hasn't done it so far. So let's just talk about that real quick. So will Jaden Daniels be the first rookie to lead his team to a Super Bowl? 4 others have made it to conference championships. Joe Flacco, Ben Roethlisberger, Mark Sanchez, now Jaden Daniels. 2 of those guys have Super Bowls, but it wasn't in their rookie season. Ben Roethlisberger, youngest quarterback to win a Super Bowl at 23 years old, 340 days in Super Bowl 40. And then the youngest quarterback to play in a Super Bowl, and his only Super Bowl, was Dan Marino at 23 years old, 127 days in Super Bowl 19. So Jaden Daniels trying to make more history. I don't know if it's possible, but he can. If somebody can do it, it's definitely him, because this dude's definitely got ice in his veins. So let me know what you guys think. Will he be the youngest quarterback to win a Super Bowl? It's going to be hard to get through Philly and then either Josh Allen or Kansas City, but this dude's clearly a phenom, and clearly just the Bears could have had him. But I'm still happy with Caleb Williams. I'm not sleeping on Caleb. I know there's this guy I saw the other day said 10 out of 10 times he would take Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams, and I'm calling cap, y'all. Yeah, Jaden Daniels having a good season, but I still riding with Caleb Williams, dog. All the throws, all the plays, all the aura, all the swag. Give me Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels, yeah, you're cool in a Commanders jersey, but that's already a lame-ass mascot anyway. Give me the Chicago Bears. Give me Caleb Williams. Give me Ben Johnson. Give me Soldier Field, y'all. We're taking them 10 out of 10 over Jaden Daniels in Washington. I don't care what anybody says, y'all. But on that note, thanks for stopping by. Hit like, drop a comment, hit share, hit subscribe. We growing the Ant Farm, y'all. Ben Johnson in Chicago. Nothing left to say. Deuces.